You say you want your life to change, but you keep waiting for a feeling that never comes. You sit and you hope and you pray, yet your days are scattered, your thoughts are divided, your habits are undisciplined, and then you wonder why your life feels powerless. Listen carefully. A disorganized life is not a small problem. It is not a personality quirk. It is not something you fix later when things calm down. Disorder is a thief. It steals clarity, it steals strength, it steals joy, and it steals usefulness. You were not made to drift. You were not made to live at the mercy of impulse, emotion, and distraction. You were made to live with intention, with direction, with order. Look honestly at yourself. Not the version you present to others, not the version you talk about when you dream, but the version revealed by your daily habits. What time do you wake up? What do you do with the first hour of your day? Where does your time go? What consumes your thoughts when no one is watching? Your life is already organized. It is simply organized around the wrong things. Disorder does not mean absence of structure. It means structure built on chaos. You have rhythms, routines, and priorities, whether you admit it or not. The question is whether they are leading you toward life or slowly burying you. You want peace, but you refuse discipline. You want purpose, but you resist structure. You want strength, but you avoid responsibility. That contradiction cannot stand. Order does not come by accident. No one drifts into a meaningful life. No one wakes up one day and discovers they have become disciplined, focused, and fruitful by chance. Everything worthwhile is built. Everything, and building requires effort, patience, and sacrifice. Push yourself to organize your life, because no one else is coming to do it for you. You can blame your past, your parents, your circumstances, your wounds, and your weaknesses, but at some point, you must stand still long enough to tell yourself the truth. You are responsible for what you do with the time and strength you have been given. Not tomorrow, not when things improve, now. Disorganization is often disguised as freedom. People say they do not like structure, schedules, or planning. What they really mean is they do not like accountability. They want to live reacting instead of deciding. They want the comfort of spontaneity without the cost of self-government. But look at the fruit of that so-called freedom: anxiety, stress, missed opportunities, broken commitments, half-finished dreams, a life constantly behind, constantly rushing, constantly overwhelmed. That is not freedom. That is slavery to disorder. Order is not your enemy. Order is a servant that brings peace. When your life is ordered, your mind is clearer. When your priorities are established, your decisions become simpler. When your habits are disciplined, your emotions stop ruling you. You stop being tossed back and forth by circumstances. You stop living in survival mode. You begin to live intentionally, but hear this clearly. Organizing your life will hurt. It will expose you. It will confront you. It will force you to face the ways you waste time, avoid responsibility, and numb yourself with distractions. You will have to say no to things you enjoy. You will have to confront laziness, fear, and pride. You will have to tear down old patterns and build new ones brick by brick. There is no shortcut. Do not talk to me about motivation if you will not talk about obedience to what you already know. You already know you need to go to bed earlier. You already know you need to wake up earlier. You already know you waste hours scrolling, watching, and consuming things that do not strengthen you. You already know your finances are a mess because you refuse to plan. You already know your relationships suffer because you are inconsistent and distracted. Stop pretending you need more information. You need courage. Start with the small things, because your life is made of small things. You want to change everything at once, but you cannot govern a year if you cannot govern an hour. You cannot organize a future if you cannot organize a day. Begin by ordering your morning. Begin by deciding when you will wake and what you will do before the noise of the world rushes in. A disciplined morning is a declaration of war against chaos. Take control of your environment. Your surroundings shape your behavior more than you want to admit. A cluttered space feeds a cluttered mind. If your room, your desk, your phone, and your schedule are chaotic, do not be surprised when your thoughts are chaotic. Clean, sort, remove what does not serve you. Simplicity is not weakness, it is focus. Then examine your time with ruthless honesty. Time is not something you find. Time is something you allocate. If you do not decide where your time goes, someone else will decide for you. You will spend it on interruptions, distractions, and emergencies that could have been prevented. Write down what matters. Decide what deserves your best energy. Protect those things. Everything else must take a lesser place. Do not confuse busyness with productivity. Many people are exhausted, not because they are doing too much of what matters, but because they are doing too much of what does not. They run all day and accomplish little, because they never stop long enough to decide what actually matters. Organization is not about doing more. It is about doing what is necessary and doing it well. Your habits are the backbone of your life. You cannot organize your life without confronting them. Habits are formed by repetition, not intention. You cannot simply wish for better habits. You must practice them until they become normal. This requires perseverance. You will fail, you will miss days, you will feel discouraged, but discipline is not proven by perfection. It is proven by persistence. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Readiness is a myth. You act, and readiness follows. Order your life even when you feel tired, unmotivated, and afraid, especially then. Feelings are unreliable leaders. If you wait for them, you will wait forever. Some of you live in constant reaction to crisis. Your life feels urgent all the time because nothing is planned. Everything is last minute. Everything is stressful. That is not a sign of importance. It is a sign of poor stewardship. Organization turns chaos into margin. Margin allows you to breathe, to think, to respond wisely instead of impulsively. You must also organize your inner life. A disciplined schedule without a disciplined mind will collapse. Guard what you allow into your thoughts. Not everything deserves your attention. What you consume mentally will eventually shape your desires and actions. If your mind is filled with noise, fear, lust, envy, and comparison, do not be surprised when your life lacks clarity and strength. Learn to be alone with your thoughts. Silence exposes what disorder hides. Many people avoid stillness because it reveals what they have been running from. But if you never stop, you will never see what needs to change. Reflection is not laziness, it is wisdom. You say you want direction, but you refuse examination. You want answers, but you avoid questions that make you uncomfortable. Organizing your life requires brutal honesty. You must ask yourself why you do what you do. You must confront excuses you have protected for years. You must take responsibility for patterns that are destroying you. Do not expect applause for discipline. Most of the work of organizing your life will go unnoticed. No one will celebrate the nights you choose rest over entertainment, the mornings you choose purpose over comfort, the choices you make to say no when everyone else says yes. But unseen discipline produces visible strength over time. Understand this: organization is not about control for its own sake. It is about alignment. It is about bringing your actions into agreement with your values. If you say something matters, your schedule should reflect it. If you claim a goal is important, your habits should support it. Anything else is self-deception. You cannot build a meaningful life on inconsistent effort. Scattered energy produces scattered results. Focus is power. Decide what your season requires and eliminate what distracts you from it. Not everything good is necessary. Not every opportunity is yours to take. Some of you are afraid to organize your life because you fear what you might lose. You fear that structure will suffocate you, that discipline will make you rigid, that order will rob you of joy. The opposite is true. Disorder suffocates, discipline liberates, order creates space for what truly matters. You must also accept that organizing your life will set you apart. Most people live reactively. Most people drift. Most people avoid hard self-examination. When you choose discipline, you will look strange. You will be misunderstood, but you will also be effective. Push yourself when no one is watching. Push yourself when excuses sound reasonable. Push yourself when quitting would be easier. Your future is shaped in those moments. Strength is not built in comfort. Clarity is not born from convenience. You cannot outsource responsibility for your life. You cannot wait for perfect conditions. You cannot keep saying one day. One day is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid obedience today. The life you want is built by choices you make repeatedly, often quietly, often painfully. Organize your commitments. Stop overpromising and underdelivering. Integrity begins with honesty about your capacity. It is better to do a few things faithfully than many things poorly. Your word matters. Your reliability matters. Structure protects your integrity. Learn to plan, but do not worship plans. Plans are tools, not masters. They give direction, but they must be held with humility. Organization is not rigidity, it is readiness. When your life is ordered, you can adapt without collapsing. You will never accidentally live with purpose. Purpose must be pursued. Organization is the framework that allows purpose to move from idea to reality. Without it, your best intentions dissolve into regret. Do not despise slow progress. Order is built over time. Small, consistent actions accumulate into a life that stands firm. Every disciplined choice is a brick laid in a structure that will one day shelter you from chaos. There will be days when everything falls apart despite your efforts. Organization does not eliminate hardship, it equips you to face it. When storms come, an ordered life has anchors, a chaotic life has none. Take responsibility for your physical health. Your body is not separate from your life, it is part of it. Poor sleep, poor diet, and neglect will undermine every other effort you make. Discipline here is not vanity, it is stewardship. Take responsibility for your words. Disorganized speech reflects a disorganized heart. Speak with intention, speak truthfully, speak less if necessary. Words have weight. Use them wisely. Take responsibility for your relationships. Organization does not mean treating people like tasks, but it does mean being present, consistent, and faithful. Neglect breeds distance. Intentionality builds trust. Push yourself because comfort will not push you. Distraction will not push you. Fear will not push you. Only deliberate effort will move you forward. And that effort must be renewed daily. If you fall, get up and reorder what fell. Do not use failure as permission to quit. Failure is a teacher, not a master. Learn, adjust, and continue. A life left to chance will always bow to chaos. A life ordered by conviction will grow in strength and clarity. You do not need a new personality. You need a new pattern. You do not need a miracle. You need discipline applied faithfully over time. Stand up and take ownership of your days. Decide what will shape you instead of being shaped by everything around you. Push yourself to organize your life, not because it is easy, not because it is popular, but because a life without order will never become what it was meant to be. A disorganized life is never passive. It is not simply an empty space waiting to be filled with something better. Disorder is active, aggressive, and destructive. It works even when you are doing nothing. It shapes you while you sleep, while you scroll, while you delay decisions you know you should make. Chaos does not rest. It slowly erodes clarity, peace, and effectiveness until you no longer recognize the person you were meant to be. Many people think disorder is harmless, that it is just a phase, just a season, just how they are wired. But disorder always produces fruit, and that fruit is confusion, anxiety, wasted potential, and regret. Clarity cannot survive in chaos. When your life lacks structure, your mind becomes crowded with unfinished thoughts, unresolved responsibilities, and competing priorities. Everything feels urgent because nothing is defined. You wake up already behind, already overwhelmed, already reacting instead of deciding. Your thoughts jump from one concern to another with no resolution. You struggle to focus, not because you lack intelligence or ability, but because your mental energy is constantly being drained by disorder. When nothing has its place, everything demands attention. Decisions become exhausting because you have not done the hard work of deciding ahead of time what truly matters. Disorganization blurs vision. You may have dreams, goals, and desires, but they remain vague and distant because they are not supported by ordered action. Without structure, intention dissolves into wishful thinking. You tell yourself that you will figure things out later, but later never comes because disorder always pushes clarity further away. Over time, this lack of clarity becomes normal. You stop expecting focus. You stop expecting direction. You begin to live in a fog where days pass quickly, but meaning is scarce. Peace is also a casualty of disorder. A chaotic life produces constant low-grade anxiety. Even when nothing is visibly wrong, there is an underlying sense that something is unfinished, something is neglected, something is about to fall apart. You cannot fully rest because rest feels irresponsible when so much is unstructured. You cannot enjoy stillness because stillness reminds you of what you have avoided. Disorder keeps your nervous system on edge. It trains you to live in survival mode, always reacting, always rushing, always trying to catch up. Many people try to find peace by escaping responsibility rather than organizing it. They distract themselves with entertainment, noise, and stimulation, hoping to numb the discomfort. But distraction does not bring peace. It delays confrontation. The moment the noise stops, the anxiety returns, often stronger than before. True peace is not the absence of activity. It is the presence of order. It comes from knowing that what needs attention has been given attention, that your life is not being held together by panic and improvisation. Disorganization also destroys effectiveness. You may be busy, but busyness is not productivity. In a disordered life, energy is scattered, effort is inconsistent, tasks are started but rarely finished. Opportunities are missed, not because they are too difficult, but because you are too fragmented to pursue them well. You spend your strength reacting to problems that could have been prevented with foresight and planning. Over time, this leads to frustration and discouragement. You begin to believe that you are incapable, when in reality, you are simply undisciplined. Effectiveness requires alignment. It requires that your time, energy, and attention are directed toward a clear purpose. Disorder pulls these things in opposite directions. It forces you to multitask constantly, dividing your focus until nothing receives your best effort. You move from task to task without completion, from commitment to commitment without faithfulness. Eventually, people stop trusting your word, not because you are dishonest, but because your life lacks structure. Reliability is impossible without order. A disorganized life also weakens character. Discipline is not merely a tool for productivity. It is a training ground for integrity. When you consistently fail to follow through, when you regularly postpone what you know you should do, you slowly erode your self-respect. You teach yourself that your intentions do not matter. You normalize inconsistency. This inner compromise spreads into every area of life. Small acts of neglect become acceptable. Excuses become convincing. Responsibility becomes optional. Disorder makes growth feel impossible. Because nothing is measured, nothing is evaluated. You do not know whether you are improving or declining because you have no framework for assessment. Life becomes something that happens to you rather than something you steward. You become reactive instead of reflective. Without order, you rarely stop to ask why things are the way they are. You simply endure them. Clarity requires margins. It requires space to think, to reflect, to evaluate. Disorder consumes that space. It fills every moment with urgency and noise. When your schedule is chaotic, your mind mirrors it. You lose the ability to think deeply because you are constantly switching contexts. Over time, shallow thinking becomes normal. You live at the surface of life, responding to whatever demands your attention next, never going deep enough to produce wisdom. Peace requires trust in structure. When your life is ordered, you can rest because you know that what matters is accounted for. When it is disordered, rest feels dangerous. You feel guilty when you stop because stopping exposes the mess. Many people confuse rest with laziness because they have never experienced rest that flows from discipline. True rest is only possible when disorder has been confronted. Effectiveness requires consistency, and consistency cannot exist without order. Talent alone is not enough. Passion alone is not enough. Intelligence alone is not enough. Without disciplined structure, all of these gifts are squandered. Disorder turns potential into frustration. It makes capable people feel weak, and motivated people feel defeated. A disorganized life also distorts perception. Small problems feel overwhelming because they are layered on top of many unresolved issues. Minor setbacks feel catastrophic because there is no buffer, no margin, no plan. You begin to overreact emotionally because your internal resources are depleted. This affects relationships, decisions, and mental health. People around you feel the instability, even if they cannot name it. Disorder feeds avoidance. The more disorganized life becomes, the more intimidating it feels to confront it. Tasks grow larger in your mind the longer they are postponed. What could have been handled with a small act of discipline now feels overwhelming. This creates a cycle where avoidance produces more disorder, and more disorder increases avoidance. Breaking that cycle requires intentional effort, but until it is broken, clarity, peace, and effectiveness continue to deteriorate. A life without order is vulnerable. It is easily shaken by external pressures because it lacks internal stability. When challenges arise, there is no framework to absorb the impact. Everything feels like a crisis. Organization does not remove difficulty, but it provides resilience. Without it, even small disruptions can throw your entire life off balance. Disorganization also steals time in subtle ways, not just hours, but years. Years spent preparing instead of acting. Years spent reacting instead of building. Years spent overwhelmed instead of focused. Time passes quickly in chaos, but little remains to show for it. This is one of the greatest tragedies of disorder, not that it makes life hard, but that it makes life small. Clarity, peace, and effectiveness are not luxuries reserved for a few disciplined people. They are natural outcomes of an ordered life. When order is absent, these things cannot flourish. Disorder does not stay in one corner of life. It spreads. It affects thinking, emotions, relationships, work, and identity. It slowly reshapes who you become. A disorganized life is not waiting to be fixed by a future breakthrough. It is actively forming habits, patterns, and character in the present. Every day lived in chaos reinforces chaos. Every day lived without structure strengthens disorder. Neutrality is an illusion. You are either building order or feeding chaos, whether you realize it or not. When clarity fades, you lose direction. When peace fades, you lose rest. When effectiveness fades, you lose confidence. These losses do not happen suddenly. They happen gradually, quietly, through neglect and delay. Disorder does not announce itself as danger. It disguises itself as flexibility, freedom, and comfort until the cost becomes undeniable. A life left disorganized will never remain harmless. It will always take more than it gives. It will always demand more energy than it produces. It will always promise ease and deliver exhaustion. And unless it is confronted, it will continue shaping every thought, every decision, and every outcome in ways you did not choose